Hello, I'm Albert Fried-Casola, Adjunct Professor of English at Gwynedd Mercy University, and this is an enhancement to the course that I teach on Introduction to Poetry. And what I'll be covering here is lesson number 3 of the course out of 28, in which we cover, in particular, Linda Pastan, a modern poet, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, a classic poet, and Jarold Ramsey. The poems by them are in the Norton Anthology, which you all have. If you don't have it, there may be links that I can provide to elsewhere on the internet. The first poem we're going to cover is Elizabeth Barrett Browning's How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways. In my opinion, it is a gorgeous love poem. It's really well known. One of the most popular poems in the English language. You should read about Browning in the back of our book, or if you don't have the book, read about it elsewhere on the internet, such as Wikipedia. A few important points about Browning. One is that she's one of the leading female poets in history. She was almost Poet Laureate of England, passed by in favor of Tennyson. You might wonder if there was any sexual bias there. I think so, but I have not looked into it deeply. She wrote a book of poems called Sonnets from the Portuguese, which is very well known, and she drew the attention of another already famous poet named Robert Browning. They began a romance by letters and finally eloped to Italy, and you can visit their home there anytime you visit. So, very famous poet and worthy of our attention. This is a great love poem for many reasons. Although reasons don't always convey why we love a poem, right? It's more of an emotional impact. I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll talk about, I would like you to reflect in your journals and on your poem evaluation sheets what you like or don't understand or enjoy about the poem, or any other kind of notes or remarks. How Do I Love Thee? Sonnet 43 by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and, if God choose, I shall love thee better after death. Now, by quantifying using spatial references such as height and width and breadth, she is adding to our understanding or the feeling we have of how enormous her love is. The ends of being and ideal grace. I think the ends of being refers to happiness in the present moment, as does ideal grace, which you could say ideal grace would mean in heaven, but it can also mean leading a blessed life. When she says, I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, that's a really interesting mixed metaphor, because a need doesn't necessarily have a level, but in a sense we do have a level, that we need things throughout our days. And to me that's one of her most brilliant turns of phrase. Purely as men turn from praise. I'm not doing it to get a lot of compliments and to have students studying me for all of eternity. She's doing it because she feels the emotion. Her lost saints, she might have lost her religion, and in its place is her beloved. Now, reflect on that if you would, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. The next poem we're going to review, there's a lot more that could be said about that, but we're going to move on. The Tally Stick by Jarold Ramsey. Now this poem is about markings in life. Now think about markings that you might have in your own life. Are they on your Facebook page, in your Twitter feed, or mementos in your bedroom, or objects in your parents' house that are kept as mementos? All of these are kind of markings. I think I will not read this poem. I'll have you read it to yourself. The Tally Stick. I just want to say that it's a stick of mahogany into which have been etched different marks indicating key events in life. I use photo albums and all kinds of digital albums as these markings. And I'm forever making new markings. And I've had a long life, so I've had many, but yours, though you've had a shorter life, many of you are in your 20s, yours are equally powerful. They're closer to your birth date. And they may be even more vivid for that reason. So think about your own markings and what are the significant events and how you would keep track of them. He refers to the lengthened runes of our lives run through it all. A rune is not a ruin, R-U-I-N, but it's a mysterious Germanic letter, which can be a kind of a symbol. And the tally stick has been whittled, so there's not much of it left at the end. It's as delicate as scrimshaw, which is a kind of whalebone that is carved by craftsmen. President John F. Kennedy was very fond of scrimshaw and had many in his Oval Office. It's a beautiful poem about the markings that we go through in life. Now I'll turn to, so we have love in the first poem by Browning. We have family remembrances, which includes love, in the second poem by Ramsey. So there's that through line. And then there's a more passionate and immediate form of love in Linda Pastan's poem, which is called Love Poem, and I will read this to you. That's on page 4 and 5 in your textbook. Love Poem by Linda Pastan. I want to write you a love poem as headlong as our creek after the thaw, when we stand on its dangerous banks and watch it carry with it every twig and every dry leaf and branch in its path, every scruple when we see it so swollen with runoff that even as we watch, we must grab onto each other and step back. We must grab each other or get our shoes soaked. We must grab each other. There's so much passion and intensity in that poem. It's part of its beauty. And that's why I've given you references to both the Niagara Falls and the Niagara River, which the Niagara River is one of the most amazing sights, perhaps even more powerful than, well, not quite as powerful as the falls, but so much water rushing by at such a breakneck pace when I was there. And I'm giving you links to my photographs of it, which I'm sure don't do it justice. So, your creative challenge for today, as you may know, is writing poetic notes about Niagara Falls or another powerful natural wonder. When we stand in awe of natural wonders, we can have a feeling of sublimity, which sublimity is an emotion of total awe in the face of overpowering natural beauty or awesomeness. And that's what this is about. We just heard a commentary from a catbird, which I'm very fond of. He's in awe of everything going on out here in nature. This is my backyard, by the way, my very own patio table, which I'm delighted to bring to you because we'll be leaving summer behind pretty soon, and we'll be into the frozen depths of fall and eventually winter. And this might be a warm memory, but we'll also look for ways to appreciate fall and winter. Please post your notes, your poetic lines about Niagara Falls or another natural wonder on the Blackboard page. And be sure to read Elizabeth Barrett Browning's bio in the back of the book on page 603, and be thoroughly familiar with the vocabulary words on page A4, which I already gave you, and you will thusly be prepared for the test, along with other materials I will be sending you. So thanks for listening to my patio lecture, and this is Albert Fried Casorla bidding you adieu.